Hey guys, Zack here, and welcome back to another action figure review, and today we'll be taking a look at the Lost World Jurassic Park Kenner Stegosaurus. Now this is a figure that I actually got all the way back in March, but I'm just now reviewing this figure because, honestly, I kind of wanted to wait for the Lost World's 25th anniversary because that's actually coming up this month, as of me uploading this. I do have something else planned for the Lost World's 25th anniversary, so be on the lookout for that. It's nothing too crazy, but I do have something planned, but they kind of, you know, I don't know, I guess sort of like in that Lost World mood, I guess. I don't know. I figured, you know what, I'll review this guy. So, yeah. Honestly, I don't really have a whole lot else to say, so let's just get right into this. Before we take a look at the Stegosaurus itself, I just want to take a quick look at the capture gear. Um, so this isn't really anything too special. There's no paint. It's all cast in this nice, like, metallic, like, gray silver, which I think looks nice. A lot of nice sculpting and detailing on it. And basically, what you do with this is, like, the hind legs go in these cuffs right here, and then the tail goes here. Now, there is a gimmick on this figure that makes the tail shake, but I'll take a look at that later in this video. But basically, you push that, and this thing just sort of, like, breaks apart. I would show that, but the capture gear on mine is in very rough shape. Like, as you can see, like, there. This thing is on, like, the verge of snapping, so I don't want to, like, break this. So, yeah, I just want to show this off, but, yeah. I'll post a picture of, like, what it looks like on the figure itself, but, yeah, I don't want to do this to mine because I don't want to break the capture gear, so, yeah. That's pretty much it for the capture gear. Now, going back to the Stegosaur itself, we'll take a look at the painting. And the painting on this figure is actually very nice, so let's take a closer look at that. So as you can see, most of the figure here is this nice greenish color. And on the top of the figure, starting with the top of the head, we have this nice darker shade of green, almost like a brownish color. And this continues from the head all the way to the end of the tail here, and I think that looks really nice. Oops. And the yellow underneath here, it goes from the bottom of the head here all the way to the end of the tail here. And it's, paint quality like that I really miss, because, like, with Mattel, I don't mean to go into a tangent, but, like, the paint apps on Mattel figures aren't as nice as the old Kenner figures, but, yeah, because, like, with a lot of Mattel figures, the painting just kind of stops here, but with Kenner, they painted all the way through, and it looks really nice. But speaking of the end of the tail here, even the Thagomizers, yeah, that's what the spikes on the Stegosaurus' tails are called. Don't question me. They are casted in this yellowish, whitish plastic, which looks nice, and even have some like darker like shading on the bases of the Thagomizers there, which look really nice. On the leg here, we have JP24 and the Site B logo here. I'm sorry, I really missed this as far as like the new Jurassic World figures go. I get it, like licensing and whatnot, but this was so cool, man. I'm sorry, but yeah. Anyway, the dino damage bit here, all of the muscles and like everything like that is painted red, a nice glossy shade of red, which looks nice. And even the bones are painted this nice glossy white color, which I think looks nice. And lastly, we can see that the eyes are painted yellow with black pupils. So that's pretty much it for the painting on this figure. Unfortunately, the toenails aren't painted, but that's not a big deal because the rest of the painting here is actually very nice, very good. I like it a lot, so yeah, the painting on this figure is really good, so the painting definitely gets a pass. Now we'll take a look at the articulation, and the articulation on this figure, it might be disappointing depending on how you look at it, but let's just take a closer look. So the main gimmick with this figure, it came with the capture gear, and it's sort of like wrapped around it, sort of like contained the Stegosaurus's Thagomizers here. Now basically the gimmick here is that like this dorsal plate here, the tail would actually move a little bit. I don't know if mine's broken or whatever, but like mine doesn't really seem to like move a lot. But you can get like some movement out of it. So yeah. And also there's the dino damage bit, which I think is cool, but it doesn't really stay on too well. But that's not really much of a big deal. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the articulation on this figure. Now, some people might complain about the lack of articulation, which I can understand, but as you know, as far as I see it, it's like the whole point of these Kenner figures wasn't to really have like as many joints as possible. It was mainly to have this like real feel sort of skin, and to just kind of like have this like really cool gimmick. I mean, maybe the legs could have moved, but honestly, I'm not really too bothered by that. So like, I don't know. I know the newer figures have all, they have way more joints than this. In fact, this figure has no joints whatsoever as far as like the limbs go, but I don't know. Um I'm going to give the articulation a pass here because there are literally no points of articulation, but when it comes to this figure, that's kind of the point. So I think the lack of articulation here is fine. If it was like a newer Mattel figure, because like all the Mattel figures have a lot more articulation than this. So like if this was like a Mattel figure and they had this many like points of articulation, like literally none, only in like the tail and the battle damage bit or whatever, then that's when I'd like, okay, this is a little lame. But this was made in a simpler time, this figure, so I think the lack of articulation is fine. So the articulation here, I'm gonna say gets a pass. Now we'll take a look at the sculpt, and the sculpting on this figure is honestly pretty much perfect. I know there are some Kenner figures that do look a little weird, and I know there are Kenner figures that look pretty cartoonish, but this guy actually looks pretty one-to-one to how he looked in The Lost World. I mean, you take a look at this, and you take a look at, like, the shots from the movie, and yeah, this figure does look really close to that. I mean, it's not one-to-one. There are some, very minor differences, sure. It's not, like, as detailed as, like, the in-movie models or the in-movie, like, maquettes or whatever, but still, this figure, as far as sculpting goes, I think looks pretty much perfect. I will say this, though, the one complaint I have with the sculpting, very minor, would be the head. Now, the head looks good, but as you can see, it's kind of, like, looking down like that. I would have preferred if the head was, like, looking straight or just, like, facing straight, but other than that, though, the sculpting on this figure is pretty much perfect. So the sculpting here, I'd say, definitely gets a pass. Now we'll take a look at the detailing, and the detailing on this figure is actually very good, so let's take a closer look. So going to the head here, we can see all the little, creases in the face here and all the wrinkles and whatnot are detailed pretty nicely. And this detailing continues throughout. A lot of really nice wrinkles and whatnot, very elephant-like. It's particularly detailed here on the dino damage piece, but anyway, the inside there of the detailing, like all the bones and all the muscles and whatnot, detailed very nicely. The forelimbs here have a very nice bit of musculature and all the wrinkles and everything like that. Look very nice. And we have a lot of nice musculature on the underside of the stomach here, and on the side of the hind limbs here. All of the like wrinkles and everything like that. A lot of really nice texturing here. A lot of nice musculature too. And again, this has nothing to do with the detailing, but the JP logo here. Again, I miss this so much. Again, licensing, but still, it just looks so cool. Again, going to the tail here, a lot more creases and wrinkles and whatnot. And even the Thagomizers here have a very nice range of detailing. There's a lot of little like cracks and whatnot, which looks great. And even the dorsal plates here are detailed very nicely. Everything here, all the little cracks and whatnot are detailed very nicely defined. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the detailing here. The detailing, it's not super defined for the most part, but it doesn't look bad at all. Particularly the dorsal plates look really nice, and even the Thagomizers too. But yeah, the detailing on this figure, I think looks pretty good. So the detailing, I'd say gets a pass. Now we'll do some size comparisons, and this guy's actually on the smaller side. I'm not gonna lie, before I got this figure, I thought it was going to be a little bit bigger, but when I got it in, the packaging was a lot smaller than I thought it'd be, which I thought was weird, because I ordered like some human figures as well, which I probably won't review because I don't have their accessories, but yeah, I got this figure in the box. I'm like, this box is really small. But then I opened it up and I saw this figure. I'm like, wow, this figure's a lot smaller than I thought it'd be. But anyway, yeah. Here is the Kenner. Parasaurolophus. Here is the Kenner Chasmosaurus. Fun fact, this is the first Jurassic Park toy I ever owned. I mean, I know it's from the Lost World, but still, that's the first Jurassic Park related figure I've ever owned. Here we have my actual first Jurassic Park figure. This is my first Jurassic Park figure, period. But it's from the Lost World. This is my first Jurassic Park branded figure. But here we have the Screaming Velociraptor. Here we have the Kenner Slashing Velociraptor. I don't know what you'd call this type of raptor, but there you go. Here we have Sarah Harding. And in the movie, the Stegosaurus were definitely bigger. In fact, you could say that they were oversized because, yeah, no, those Stegosaurus are huge. But anyway, of course, since we're talking about Kenner, you know I have to bring in the Red Rex, one of my favorite figures of all time. So there they are. And of course, here we have Dr. Billy Grant. Oh, if he can stand. There we go, Dr. Billy Grant. And some hand sanitizer. And I think Dr. Billy Grant, I think he scales better with the Stegosaurus than Sarah does, but that's just me. So at the end of the day, should you get this figure? Honestly, I'd say yes. I think the painting on this figure is really nice. I think the sculpting, again, is really nice, and the detailing also is really nice. Mixed with that Kenner charm that I love so much. I think we have a great figure here. I can see how, for some people, the lack of articulation can be a turnoff, but that's not too much of a big deal for me, because as far as, the old Kenner figures go, the whole point, wasn't to have, as many joints as possible. The old Kenner figures were meant to be durable and have a fun gimmick while also looking nice, and I think this figure does all that very well, because, of course, this figure looks nice, but, the iconic dino damage bit here looks really nice, and even the tail swing gimmick. I mean, even though on mine it's not, the best, I don't know if mine's broken or not, but still, we do have a gimmick there, and that is commendable, so, yeah, I think that this is a really nice figure, and I've said this before, I won't go into too much detail, but I love Kenner to death. I think, the new Mattel figures aren't bad by any means, but they are not as good as Kenner. I don't think there will ever be a toy company, hypothetically speaking, if Mattel sold the rights to the Jurassic World toy line and gave it to someone else, I don't think they would be as good as Kenner, because, yeah, some of the sculpts look a little wonky and a little not great. They're still, as figures, they're still great because they just have that Kenner charm, and it's so nice. I love it to death. And this figure is no exception. This figure has a lot of that, iconic Kenner charm, and it's just great. So I would recommend this figure. One warning, though. I don't like the rubbery material they used. I know Kenner uses, a lot of, rubber for their, bigger dinosaurs, but the rubber they used here feels very, not as durable. And I feel like the rubber here could start to peel very easily. So if you do get this figure, in fact, you can kind of see, right there, on the tail there, you can see, yeah, that doesn't look great. But if you do get this figure, be mindful of that. But overall, I think that this is a great figure. As far as price tags go, you're looking at about, I got mine for $60 with the capture gear and dino damage piece, so that may vary. Though this figure can be kind of hard to come by because, well, especially with the dino damage piece, you can find it without the you can find it without the dino damage piece pretty easily, but with the dino damage, I feel like it can be a little tricky. So if you do want the dino damage piece, then just kind of keep looking through eBay until you find one for a good price. But if you don't care that much, then honestly, I think you can find the figure without the dino damage piece very easily. So, yeah. Anyway, definitely get this figure if you can. And with that said, have a great rest of your week. Happy 25th anniversary to the Lost World Jurassic Park. I'll talk more about that later in the month, so be on the lookout for that. And, yeah, peace. Zack out.